down, I've been down, my skin is brown, I wear crown.
Get ready for the Empress Life Radio Show.
All right, welcome everybody to the Empress Life Radio Podcast Show. I have a guest speaker here with Mr. Mike Crawford here from MBC Total Realty Group. And he is an expert in real estate and buying homes, buying land. And I brought him on the show today to share with you some tips when you're buying a house. So, Mr. Mike, welcome to the Empress Life Podcast Show.
Thank you for having me here today.
No.
Appreciate it. It's a beautiful day to come out here and be with you today.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Michael B. Crawford, Senior. I am from Atlanta. If you're from Atlanta, I'm a Grady baby. For some of you all that know that, you know what I'm talking about. I have two wonderful kids and a wife. Been in and out of the metropolitan areas for all my life to a certain extent. And we opened MBC Total Realty Group in 2008. Before then, I was a broker with Century 21 before the great crash, which occurred in 2008. I had a small office in Fayette County and for the last 12, 13 years. We are a full-service real estate company. We work with buyers, sellers. We work with people who lease to rent, lease to own. We also do commercial. Let us try to work with you to make sure that we can get you into that dream home. Or if you're looking to get a shopping center, something to that extent, we're there for you.
So he said dream home and commercial property. So that's a home or a whole plaza.
Right.
So let's talk about buying a home. Now that it's 2023, buying a house now is way different from buying a house 7-10 years ago.
Yes, it is.
What are the credit limits still the same? What are they looking for? Are they requiring more paperwork now? What will someone need that is a new home buyer? What will they need to buy a house?
Well, you said a lot, but what we're going to do, we're going to start at the beginning. If anybody into sports that listen to us right now, you got to prepare. And preparation to get in the house is like anything else that you decide to do in life that you want and that you're going to invest. Because buying a house it's a large investment for most people. You can get your nice car, you can get this, you can get that, but a home is normally the biggest investment. So the first thing I always tell my clients, and I tell my real estate agent, I have 5 real estate agents at this time. I also tell them to tell their clients this: do a budget. It's real simple. You can be old school like Empress Yaa and write it down. Yep. You can do Excel sheet if you want to. You can do whatever. You can Google a budget sheet. Do a budget sheet to put yourself in a situation where you know what you can afford. Because what happens a lot of times, you go to the lender and you can't afford what you want. We all drive around looking at this house, that house, but you don't know if you can afford that house because you don't even know what you're spending. When I say a budget, I mean everything. I mean, getting your hair done, getting your nails done.
Keep up with what you spending.
Everything that you spend, if it's something that you spend in every 3 months or every 6 months, you put that into your budget. And you also put what you make, what you're saving, everything into that budget. Just get your budget first. I have seen this over and over again. People get started in the middle of the process, and I always try to take them back to the beginning of the process. Because if you can't afford the house, you can't buy the house.
Right, and then you can't maintain the house because you have to maintain and then furnish the house and then feed yourself and others in the house.
It's called being a house poor.
Ooh, and you don't want that. You want to live beneath your means. You want your rent to be like 30%. This is coming from, he taught me. He helped me buy my house. You want your rent to be 30% of what you make so that when that payment comes out, it's not hurting you as bad and you still have enough income to sustain yourself. Now, what if I did have bad credit? Is that something I can fix immediately? Is this something that can happen overnight? How does that work?
Well, but bad credit is relative to who you are, what your debt to ratio is, what you're trying to do. You have extremely bad credit if you're paying cash. So what we're looking at, you have 4 major ways to get a house. You have FHA loan, which is the federal government loan. You have a conventional loan, which is through the private banks, mortgage company. You have the VA, which is the Veteran Assistant Association loans, and then you have cash. So that's why I'm saying you have different avenues to get on. Now, having bad credit is again a part of the initial process. And I always tell clients again, check your 3 major credit unions. It's free. TransUnion, Experian, and what's the other one? Equifax. Check all 3 of them first to see what you're looking like, because this will determine your interest rate. The interest rate has gone up again. It went up yesterday.
That was my next question. It went up yesterday. So how much is it now?
I think it was like 7.2, 7.3 yesterday. However, and I tell people this all the time, again, the interest rate that they show you on TV is for your 750 or 700 on up.
That's not for everybody.
640 credit score. And now I'm talking about the Beacon score. It's a 3-number score that they've been using for years. So what you see when they advertise is the best credit score that you can get, not the worst, not the worst interest rate. It's the best interest rate. So what happens is, again, because you don't know what your credit rating is, you don't know what your budget is, you go to the lender at that time because you didn't prepare, and then you'll think you're gonna get that lowest interest rate,
and it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
So one thing that Mr. Mike shared with me when I was preparing to buy my house, get a credit card, right? Or get a first-timer's credit card or a prepaid credit card. Buy something for $20, pay it off. Use that credit card only to buy little things and then pay it off. That shows that you're paying on time. My credit score went whoop, whoop, right? So now that someone has their credit score, they have the credit score they want, they fix their credit, right? What's the next process? So we're looking at several homes. You're finding out what you want. What does that look like?
You move fast again.
Oh, okay. My bad.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because people do that all the time.
See?
They just jump. And then you at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
You
so get me right, Mr.
But
Mike.
that next step, and I tell my clients again, and especially now, it wasn't that important 20 years ago. It just was not. And the word I'm going to tell you is documentation. If you do not have documentation of the income you say that you're making, which is for most lenders going to be at least 2 years of federal income tax return, and then you got to have a job for at least a year on that end. So if you don't have documentation, if you're living with your mom, which I had this happen to a client, they were paying rent every month, but they just weren't documenting it. So it showed that they had no rental history. It showed that they were living with the parent, but they may pay $500 this month,
but it wasn't
next month, but it was never documented. So they're going to look for documentation. They might not look at the beginning, because when you get a pre-approval, which you was asking about, it's not worth a whole lot in the paperwork. It's just a matter of saying, we check your initial, what you told me. I'm gonna give you a pre-approval.
We're gonna get to that part.
When we get to the back end, then
the back end
documentation
is the headache.
Next thing you know, you're not getting that house. And you all upset. I'm definitely upset. And the lender's upset.
Right.
So when I'm saying documentation, I'm saying, and that goes back when I said prepare. Get yourself together first before you even go talk to a lender or a real estate agent. And if you do that, your process will be much smoother throughout.
That's true.
Next question.
That's true. So how much money should I keep in my bank account? Because I know banks look at that.
That's right.
How much can you keep monthly before I give you $200,000? How much of your money can you maintain?
Well, if you give me $200,000, we're gonna be real good. if you got that much saved up, but no, and make it real simple. When you're buying a house, and we say FHA, and we use that for an example, it's 3.5% down payment. So if you're getting a $300,000 house, that's $10,500, which means you need to have that in the bank. Okay. Secondly, if you are buying a house, the lender's going to make sure you have at least 2 months, 2.5 months of that house note that's going to be in that you're going to be paying.
That you're not touching. It has can't touch it.
It got to be there. You can't move it at all, and it has to be seeded. Seeded means that money have to be in the bank when you start the process. So when they look at it, no one put it in, it's already there.
Right.
So you'll need, let's say $300,000 house. At this point with the interest rate, you're probably looking at about $2,400. So that means you're gonna need at least $6,200
in the bank, because the bank wants to trust that they know their payment, at least their payment is coming through before they give you the 200 or however much money your house.
Because that's about the norm right now. Houses around about 300,000.
Oh, so that's my next question. You just going right into my questions. How much is a house? How much now is a single family home? How much are they running for?
It depends, but if you look at what they said in Georgia average, and I'm talking about the metropolitan area, it's about 310, 320 average house. Of course, you can get some less, of course, they're out there. But we're just talking about the average home,
right?
That we out there buying today.
Okay. Now, thank you guys for tuning in to the Empress Life podcast. We have Mr. Mike B. Crawford Sr. here from MBC Total Realty Group, and he is sharing some real estate tips with us for buying a house. Now, you just shared a whole bunch with us, right? Now, say we got approved by the bank, right? We have our bank account good. We got approved by the bank. What's the next step? When do I
call me? Yeah, that would be the next step. Once you have done I call it the pre-work, you contact a lender or you contact a real estate agent, depending on which one you want to do first. If you contact a lender, 9 out of 10, they'll either ask you, do you have a real estate agent? Or they will refer you a real estate agent. If you contact a realtor, he or she will ask the same question. If you have a lender, if you're working with a lender, 99% of all realtors today will not show you anything unless you have a pre-approval letter. So if you contact them, you're contacting them and tell them what you're looking for, but they are also going to make sure they put you with a realtor, with a lender, so that you can get that pre-approval, because you have already done the homework.
Right.
So you can contact either one. That would be the next step.
That'll be the next
step. And then once you're talking to me, we'll use me as a realtor. We're going to ask you, where you want to move to, what type of house you're looking for. Is it a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom? Is it a ranch, a 2-story? Do you need a basement?
The schools.
Do you have kids? I'll get to that. Where's your commute from work? Or do you want to drive 30 minutes? And if you live in Atlanta, everything's 30 minutes or more. Simple as that. So I don't care if it's 10 minutes.
That is true. It's going to be about 30 minutes.
You know what time you leave, it's 30 minutes to get there. So I ask all those questions because I try to get, I call myself the top 10 things that you're looking for in the home. Because you got to tell me what you want for me to serve you.
Right.
Don't let the agent tell you what you want.
Right.
Because I have heard those horror stories where the client says, I didn't really want this house. And you say, well, but why did you get it? My real estate agent kept showing me this, and I told them what I wanted.
Ain't no way.
Everybody's not as forceful
or forthcoming.
Yeah, we're dealing with people like this.
So let's talk about the back end, right?
Which back end?
Wait, did I skip anything?
Well, you got to find a home. You got to put an offer on a home.
The offer. That's the part. Okay, so we found a home, right? We went and looked at the home. We saw everything we like. We're in the community. It has everything I want. Now I'm putting an offer in.
Yeah, and those are some steps also once you put the offer in. Initially, once you put an offer in, you got to get accepted because that's all it is, an offer. Once you get the offer, you're under contract. Once you're under contract, there are certain things that you have to hit within that contract. When you do a contract, you got a price that you're selling it for. You got we call earnest money, which is money that you put towards the home. You'll see it again at closing. It'll either be applied to your down payment or it'll be applied to your closing costs, but it'll be applied at some point at the end of the process. They never count it in the middle. Once you do that, you get the house inspected. I always tell my client, get their home inspected.
Let me tell you, home inspection is so important, isn't it? Because I was about to buy a house and the home inspector came and said no. I was so upset. I was I was crying because I had went through all the process. I had my money saved up. I was expecting. And I was just ready to move, right?
I got stressed that you get the home inspector.
And the one thing I like working with Mr. Mike is because he's very thorough. He's going to make sure you are taken care of. He said, no, get the home inspector, make sure the house is okay. I was like, no. It looks good. I'm ready to sign. Thank God I didn't sign. It was a bad roof and termites. And that is so important. It may home inspectors, when I was buying a house, it's like $450. It might be more, but it is so worth it. I would rather spend $450 than sign for $164,000 or $180,000 house, and now I can't even get out the house. Now I got to pay another $20,000 for a roof, and I don't even know what they do for termites. I don't even think you can get rid of them once they're nestled into your house so good.
Well, neither one's a termite specialist, but they can get rid of them. You have to call a termite company, a pest company.
Well, I passed that house. I was upset. I said
I
no.
remember that. So once you got there, like I said, there's a series of steps. You get the home inspection. You have a financial contingency you have to deal with. That just basically means that the lender now that has your pre-approval has to approve you within a period of time. So it's a financial contingency. You remember we talked about appraisal contingency, which means the house has to sell at the sale price. Because if it does not meet the initial sale price, the lender will ask most of the time the buyer to bring extra money to close, or the seller has to reduce. And we're getting into the weeds right now, so I'm not going to go that deep. But I'm just saying that's basically some of the steps. You have appraisal contingency, you have to earn some money, you have to make sure that's all there, and then you have the closing costs from the seller, if the seller is paying closing costs, or it's paid through the buyer or through the buyer's lender. So those are the steps once we got the house, and then you go to closing.
And then one good thing, if you're a new home buyer, sometimes do they still have programs for new home buyers that they'll pay your closing costs? Like if you're a teacher or a nurse or a firefighter, if you work in those certain areas, they have programs that will pay your closing costs for you.
Well, that's a lender thing. As a realtor, I tell people, I'm not a lender, but I know a lot about lending because I've been doing this for 20 years as far as watching what they do, paying attention to all that good stuff. There are different programs out there. And like I said, again, we're not going to go through all of those, but they still have the first-time home buyer program that's still out there even today. It went away for a little while. You used to have the Georgia Dream. It's kind of up and down as far as that goes. But there are programs for first-time home buyers, just simple as that. But don't base your getting a house, which you could have 20 years ago on the first-time home buyers program, because now you still got to have everything, as I said earlier, the money in the bank, the down payment to a certain extent.
And
you got to have all that.
showing consistent credit payments. If you
it has to be documented. Everything now is documented. Back, I said 20 years ago, you could still get in the house if you didn't have all documentation. Now everything has to be documented.
Right.
So
those are some great tips for you if you're looking to buy a house. Did we miss anything, Mr. Mike?
No, I think we kind of covered most of the stuff that I can think of that you asked me about.
Now let's go into another topic. Selling a house.
Well, selling a home is for the seller. The process begins again with preparation. If you're going to sell your house and you're trying to get full value for your home, then when I come out to your house, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm going to walk through your home,
and he's
and
brutally honest.
You everything that you need to have, what we need to do to get full price. Just simple as that. If you're selling as an investment property, or you're selling through a trust and you're just trying to get rid of it, then a lot of times there's nothing that you need to do to improve the home value, to improve the home for the value to sell, because you're not trying to sell it at top dollar.
Oh, okay.
You're just selling it to get, not so much to get rid of it, but you're trying to sell it at a fair market value.
And at least get some profit from it, right?
Well, again, I don't get into that as far as with the people selling the home, because everybody sells their houses for different reasons.
Okay.
You know, so if a parent passed, the house is still left. They just want to get rid of the house, so they just want a fair market value. They're not trying to get top dollar. Just simple as that.
Okay.
And you have family members, and they all trying to sell it. They might be trying to get top dollar because they got to share their money.
Right.
So it just depending on what you're doing. Once you do the preparation and we walk through the house, we do a comparative market analysis from the real estate perspective, which basically is not an appraisal, but it shows you what the other houses in the neighborhood are sold for.
Okay.
Within a mile, sometimes 2 mile radius.
That's important.
So that's a part of the real estate agent coming in, looking at the house, evaluating the home to see what we're gonna put on the market for. And then once you put on the market, you put on the market normally for 2 to 3 months. Most agents do at least 60 days or more, and then you wait. Then you advertise it. You do open houses for your client if that's necessary, and then you just make sure you form your prospective buyers clients. You form other real estate. Not say that, I mean you're sending out contacts to them to let them know that you have a property for sale.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Empress Life podcast. We have Mr. Michael Crawford Sr. from MBC Total Realty Group, and he just dropped some jewels on us on tips to buy in a house, tips to sell in a house. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
If someone was interested in being in real estate, what are some tips that you can give someone that wants to get their real estate license?
Basically, you need to know if you can work with people. I think this is a job that you gotta love doing. I love putting people in homes. I love getting the house. So it's a very it's a great feeling when someone's buying their very first home. The happiness that they have.
Yes.
And I always tell my client, I want the process to begin smooth. We go through smooth, and when you close, you're just as happy as when you began.
Right.
But as far as getting your real estate license, there are several real estate schools through MLS that you can take. I think it's about $500-600 to complete the actual school. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. Then you take a state exam, you pass that. Once you complete the state exam, you have to get with a broker, which I am a broker. I've been a broker now since 2005. And then that's basically what you need to do to get your real estate license.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there it is, you guys. You have it first here at the Empress Life Show. We're talking about real estate, self-care, financial literacy. We're going to be traveling around Atlanta looking at some wellness places. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Mr. Mike,
Thank you for having me.
for coming and sharing your expertise with our viewers. And you guys stay tuned. We have another great show coming up.
Empress. I've been down, my skin is brown.